This is the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show with men's head coach Kim Anderson and women's head coach Amanda David. And now, here's your host, Shay Schrader.
Hello and welcome to the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show. I'm Shay Schrader, and as always with me is women's head coach Amanda David. And Coach, I know it was a little bit of a wild week, kind of back and forth, but how are you feeling today?
Well, we feel good. We always feel good after a win. We're ready to get on to next week's games and hopefully keep it rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there was, a lot of really fun basketball being played this week. I think this was one of the more competitive weeks that we've seen from you guys, especially against Central Missouri. So let's roll right into those highlights. Central Missouri, I know that was a team that you guys struggled against earlier in the season, but the way that you came out, the first half of this game, you would not have known that.
No, not at all. I think it does show, like we've been talking about in all these other TV shows, about our maturity and that we really have grown into a good basketball team and a competitive basketball team, and we feel like we belong in the top 4, top 5, and we were trying to prove that against Central Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as always, you have the big players, and you have Kaylee DeMitz, Tristan Gegg just absolutely going off. We got to see some of Sydney Crane in this game too, and so, I think that they're really cohesive. I think they've been cohesive, but I think you're seeing that even more and more as, time goes on. You look at the stat sheets and it's a lot more spread out.
Definitely, yeah. I was just talking to Kaylee and some of the girls at the gym, is just that we really have found the second layers of our offense, and they're sharing the basketball extremely well. We know, when they cover it, just like that skip pass out, if they're covering down in the post, and so really just seeing the rotations extremely well. And that does have to do with a lot of experience. They're juniors now, and so they've really seen a lot of basketball, a lot of film, and they're starting to recognize it. The game's just slowed down for them. That's part of just experience, being an experienced player.
Going into this game, historically the last couple of seasons, I know you guys have struggled against Central, but again, as we talked about, you wouldn't have known that going into this game. Do you think that your girls had a chip on their shoulder at all going into this?
Yeah, we for sure did. I mean, we've talked about our defense, and I felt like, we'd seen some talk about how, we have a lot to be desired on defense, and so I think the girls really did take some offense to that, and that we really wanted to come out and show ourselves, and that's just where, we do have to be a mature team though, and do that again in the second half, and that's just where they really, challenged us in that second half to bring it again, and I'm really proud of our girls' effort, and that we do have the recognition of how to get there and be in those close games, but again, like against the top teams, you got to finish, you got to have the W at the end to really feel good about it. We're not satisfied, and we were kind of disappointed and carried that with us into Saturday's game.
Now, I know that their athletic department gave you a little bit of bulletin board material. I heard you say that they put in their little game packet that you guys left a lot to be desired on defense. Did you show that to your girls before the game at all?
Yeah, I mean, we did, because I think you need to use anything that you can to your motivation, and try to, if you listen to the Last Dance with Michael Jordan and those things, you have to find things that motivate you to another level, I think, and so I think as coaches, that's part of what we got to do, is we got to try to push some buttons, and if anybody needs help doing that, that's what that stuff is good for, and so, and they weren't wrong. Honestly, they were not wrong about our early season. And so, I don't think it should haunt us. I just think it should keep us humble, and it should keep us striving to continue to prove ourselves all season long. And we talked about that early in the year, was just we want to be playing our best basketball in February, and we want to bump our head. And when we graded ourselves back then, we said that we probably are at a C, like for our abilities and our talent. And we needed to get ourselves, so that's what 75% or 70%. And so I think we've talked now, like we feel like we're about 80, 85 on our best day, on our good days. But I think our best days are still ahead. Like I think we're still trying to get there, try to bump our head, and a lot of it goes to defense because we are, ranked so high offensively. And against the top teams in the league, even Kearney, not Kearney, we didn't score so well, but Central and can't remember who we played, Hayes, we scored in the 70s, and they're long teams, and that's some things we've struggled with in the past. And so I really do think that we continue to get better offensively, and we'll look forward to, if we get some rematches, maybe we can get it done then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing about this game too, I know that it ended up being a loss for you guys, but it was a really close game. There a couple different things went you guys' way. I absolutely think that you guys could have pulled out the winner, and it may have been a different story. But looking back at losses like that, where that you were so tangibly close to winning, but just not able to pull it off, what do you take away from that?
I mean, you can dissect it to every position probably. Even if somebody's played a great game, there's always something more that you could have done. We will never be perfect, but everybody should take accountability. And I think when you do that, that's how you really do become the best version of yourself at the end. And so, in watching the film, they went right at our post. We got to continue to get better there. And then we had 17 turnovers. So you think of all those things, and then they had some offensive boards. So you take into those into consideration, and right where you can fix those things. And so you hope that you can make up that point differential at some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that we saw a little bit of a fire lit under you guys, against Lincoln on Saturday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's check the MIAA standings before we hit the break. A little bit of a shift here. We have Nebraska Kearney and Central Missouri tied for first. No surprise there. And then Fort Hays, Emporia, Central Oklahoma. And then if we go to the next slide, we have you guys, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off. The Missouri Southern, Washburn, Northwest Missouri, who you guys will be playing this upcoming week, and then Rogers State. So kind of, knowing how things look right now, knowing that you're going to be playing Northwest Missouri this upcoming week, does that give you any, feeling of confidence going into things?
Well, I just think, like I said, being realistic to know what you're still trying to work on. And then, of course, this past game, we did feel pretty good about what we were doing offensively, and we felt good about what we were doing offensively against Central Missouri. And so I think that it's just continuing to build. And so you do find the positives, and I think that we are confident in some areas. And I think that our offensive side, I think we have players that are continuing to get more and more confident in that area, and especially Sydney Crane. Aaron Davis is continuing to be that player. And then I think, Jamie Jackson is going to find her way back in. She had a rough go after Christmas. She had COVID, and then had twisted her ankle, and so that's been a time for some of these other kids to continue to step up and prove their confidence in themselves and rotate people in. And so I have no doubt that she's going to continue to get back and help us offensively too. So I think it just goes back to what we need to get better at. And so, yeah, we feel confident, but we know we still need to stay humble and continue to get better at things.
I know you mentioned, being able to rotate in a lot of players and, having a really good offense. And I think that's something we saw a lot of in the game against Lincoln. Explosive offense, a lot of players on the bench, and we'll look at that after the break.
It's a huge accomplishment. My team was super happy for me, and obviously I couldn't have done it without them, without their passes and support. So it was huge, especially for college. It's a pretty big deal, so I'm really excited about it.
And that was Tristan Gegg talking about breaking 1,000 career points in the game against Lincoln yesterday. Unfortunately, we don't have footage of that due to technical difficulties. So my sincerest of apologies to Tristan and all the Pitt State basketball fans out there. And then, of course, next to her was Aaron Davis, who also had a really big game yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're just excited for Tristan, and it is a great feat for her to have that in her awards, and just really excited for her, and we couldn't be more happy to have her as a gorilla. And just, I think the fans, being a local kid, it's exciting for them to see a kid do so well from the community. And so just, we look forward to seeing many more points. So you'll have much more footage, I'm sure, in the future of her over 1,000. But and then Erin, of course, had a great game. She's really, like I said, she has been steady. And something that people don't realize is sometimes it's hard to be the kid that only gets 4 or 5 shots a game, and you got to be consistent in that. You got to get your feel for the game very quickly, and especially come off the bench at times. And she started for us at times. And so that really goes to show how mentally tough she is. That she's just ready to do her part anytime that she gets her chance.
Absolutely, and I think she made, a difference in the game. And this was a game that you guys' offense was really hot, obviously. Let's go ahead and roll the highlights there. I think right off the bat, something that you guys capitalized off of was, to be honest, Lincoln, they were a little bit sloppy with the ball there in the beginning. It was like the first play of the game, you guys got it back.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about Tristan's points, but when she's really good, she's doing lots of different things on the floor. She's getting to 50-50 balls, deflections, getting rebounds. She actually texted me after the game and said, "Coach, I had 8 rebounds." That's pretty cool to hear that from a kid after they just got their 1,000th point. So that's one thing that she really knows as a basketball player is there's all kinds of plays to be made. But we came out with a lot of pressure. You see there Maya going, rotating over, playing the basketball. And we were trying to be bouncy, trying to be, play really tight in the gaps and make them really kick it out all the time, not get layups. And to hold them to 12 points first quarter was good for us. That was a good start.
Yeah, and I think you guys held them, really well. Quite obviously, you guys were just dominating the floor. And something that I really liked about this game, and that I know we discussed in the post game, was just we saw a lot of players off the bench this game, and I think that getting them in the game, kind of training them up. If someone were to ever go down, as we talked about too, this game got a little scrappy. At one point, I think Kaylee got the wind knocked out of her. And so if one of your, starters were ever to go down, do you have that confidence in the bench players that they could potentially fill that role?
Yeah, we're gaining confidence every day in every one of our players. And, there's Abby Dici, and like you mentioned, Erin Davis. She's, waited her time in our program, and really excited for her. And so absolutely, we have lots of confidence. There's Jamie, and Erin getting the rebound put back, and so there's just so many things that they're starting to do. They're just getting so comfortable in their roles that they're starting to find additional roles, and that's where them getting those extra minutes in games like this is really cool. And so the 15 offensive boards we had, there's one possession where we had, probably 4, maybe 5 offensive boards. And that's just where kids start to find those little niches of doing those things in games. They can concentrate more on just that one play or whatever exactly is right in front of them. And so it's really cool to see that.
It was great to see, and somewhere in here it is right now, I believe, is an amazing Jenna Shipley play that might be my favorite of the game. Jamie had shot the ball, it didn't go in, but Jenna, she saved it. Dana got it right back to her, and she was able to put it in. I think that was probably the most exciting play from a bench player.
Yeah, you're going to see Jenna Shipley a lot in the future. I think she's going to be an outstanding player for us. As you can tell, she's extremely athletic, she's long, and she never stops. And that's one of the keys, is you cannot quit playing. And so to save that ball and not just watch somebody else do something with it, but get right back in the play, is just what's going to make her a special player in the future.
Right, Sydney Crane getting in there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final score. Obviously, you guys got the win, 72-54. And let's roll on over and look at some of the stat leaders for this week. At the top of the board against Central Missouri was Tristan Gegg with 26, Kaylee DeMitz with 13, Sydney Crane with 10. No surprise there. I think that's pretty typical. But over to the game against Lincoln, we had Kaylee with 19, 7 rebounds. This was something that kind of caught my eye. There were a very high number of players scoring or getting a lot of rebounds this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to have some of your smallest kids doing that just meant that we were really putting some extra effort on the boards, and especially on the offensive side. And as well as we were shooting it, that says a lot. We were putting, like I said, some extra effort out there. And Tristan, she had an amazing game versus Central Missouri, hit some big shots for us. And so she's just consistently putting up points for us, and that allows some other people to play some other roles too, like we said. And as long as we can keep striving to do something extra every game, I think that's going to make a big difference.
I think it's great too. I love that she texted you. She breaks 1,000 points in college, which is no small feat, and she's excited about her rebounds. Yeah. She's not even thinking about that.
Right.
I think that's pretty amazing, and just shows if you have players that are still wanting to get better and they still get excited about putting up numbers like that, what can you do in the future?
Right. Well, and Tristan's an ultimate team player, and I think that's what makes our team special, is they really do get excited for each other. And when we went into the locker room, everybody, I was trailing them into the locker room, and I heard them, all hollering for her and everything. And so that's a special moment for her. And then, when the other players go in, the freshmen and stuff, for the older kids to be so excited for them, and because they work so hard every day to get us prepared. And so it's really important to have that camaraderie within your team and the chemistry. And I thought our upperclassmen did a good job of putting that Lincoln game in a position where we could get some kids in and get them some reps.
Well, it was a really exciting game. As always, it's great to see. I know this week you have a little bit of a tough road trip. Just travel-wise, and play Northwest Missouri State on Thursday and then Missouri Western on Saturday. And, of course, we will discuss that and more this time next week. Coach, as always, thank you for being here. But stay with us. We will be back with men's head coach Kim Anderson after the break. Welcome back to the Pitt State Basketball Coaches Show. I'm Shay Schrader, and with me as always is men's head coach Kim Anderson, and we also have a guest today. This is Ryan Pippins from the Pitt State basketball team. And Ryan, it's your first time on the show. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming. And, Coach, I know that this was a big week for you guys. You're on a 5-game winning streak coming out of this. So how are you feeling today on Super Bowl Sunday?
Oh, I feel good. I think our guys are starting to come around as far as understanding what they can do to help the team win. Each person, guys have different roles, and different games create different situations depending on who you're playing. So we've done a good job the last 5 games, and We got 5 games to go, and they're all going to be tough. So we've got to just take them one at a time, starting Thursday with Northwest.
Yeah, you guys will definitely have to carry that energy into this upcoming week, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But let's go ahead and roll the highlights here. Something that I've heard from your players is just the fact that everyone has a role, and everyone is kind of finding themselves stepping into a role on a specific night. And I think, Ryan, that this game against Central Missouri was a game that you were really a role player and really contributed.
Yes, ma'am. I guess it was just one of those nights for me, and my team just carried it on for me, helped me out a lot, and I had to step up and be big.
Did you have any specific mentality going into this game, that made you think that you were going to win and you were going to be the person that was going to help do it, or did it just kind of happen?
Just kind of happened. My mentality every night is just to go have fun and play basketball, and just let the chips fall where they lay.
And Coach, what do you think, kind of about the performance of your team? Obviously Ryan here had a really great performance. There were a couple other guys, but, this game, I feel like it was you guys' off the bat, and you guys seemed to come out with a lot of energy and really just kind of control the game.
Well, I think the reason we've done well lately is different nights, different guys have stepped up. Pip had a great night against Central Missouri. Antonio Givens had a great night last night against Lincoln, and Martin Vokes has had some big nights. Bobby's had some big nights. Quentin's had some big nights, and I think the acceptance of that situation by our team has made a difference. That Pip scored 26 points against Central Missouri and scored 2 last night, but he was just as important last night as he was against Central Missouri. So I don't feel real comfortable with him not on the floor. I'll be honest with you. Whether he's making shots or not making shots or whatever, because he's kind of the glue for our team. I think helps defensively, rebounds, handles the ball, can play any position on the floor, and that's, I think, what makes him so valuable. Not necessarily scoring a lot of points.
And Ryan, do you feel like you guys are more cohesive these past couple weeks? I know at the beginning of the season, I just kind of got the feeling that things weren't necessarily discombobulated, but you guys seem to really have come together in these past couple weeks and gelled. Do you feel closer as a team?
I do, actually. I do. We all do, honestly, so yeah.
And do you think that there's any specific factors that go into that? I mean, guys just getting to know each other more, or what do you think contributes to that?
We're just gelling better, being able to talk to each other. At first, I feel like we wasn't able to really do that. But now I feel like we're able to talk to each other, tell each other what we do and the things we can and can't do. So,
I mean, it obviously worked out for you, especially against UCM. You guys won that game 79-72. But let's go ahead and look at some point leaders for this week. Obviously, we have Ryan, 26 points, 7 rebounds. Quentin Hardricks, he put up 14 with 5 assists. And then Bobby Arthur Williams Jr., he had 7 points and 6 rebounds. And that's also something that kind of stood out to me. It happened on the women's side too, but there were a lot of guys kind of having high numbers of rebounds in this game against Central.
Well, I think we've done a much better job lately, especially offensive rebounding. I believe last night we had 16 offensive rebounds, and I think that resulted in maybe 24 second chance points. And so we always talk about creating extra possessions or getting extra shots, and I think that the last couple of games, that's been a big part of our game, is being able to get extra shots.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap up talking about Central Missouri. Moving into Lincoln a little bit, not a little bit, a lot. We have Antonio Givens II. He had 20 points. Martin Vokes, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And then Quentin Hardrick, again, 12 points, 4 assists. And as you said, this was a night that someone else had to step up. It may not have been you, Ryan, this game, but Antonio, he came up big. Martin came up big. And, as we know, you guys won that game in overtime.
Well, Tone played 1 minute on Thursday. And because of the style of game it was, not because he wasn't good or bad or anything else. We played Central Missouri and they played a smaller lineup, and we're very fortunate that we have the guys now that can play that type of game. We call it small ball. And but yesterday was a game that he could shine, and he did. He and Zach Birch both, between the two of them, I think had 29 points. That's pretty good from your pivot position. So I was really proud of Tone because Thursday was a tough night for him. But last night he came to play and he did a good job on both ends of the floor. He even got a blocked shot, and because I'm always kidding him about blocking shots and hey, how about jumping a little bit, you know? And he had a really, really good block shot last night at a late crucial part of the game.
Yeah, it was a really fun game to be a part of the crowd, and we will talk about that more after the break.
I just knew I had to step up at that time. It's really no pressure. I've been doing this for a long time, playing basketball my whole life, something I love. So it's pressure, but you don't really see it that way. You just see it as, you know, I don't want to say being a hero, but you know, it's my time to step up.
And that's Antonio Givens II discussing his big game against Lincoln this week. And as we saw from his stats, he really did have a big game. But let's go ahead and roll into the highlights. We can see exactly what happened. And, you know, I think this is another game that you guys really kind of came out swinging. You know, it was really close at certain points, obviously, because it went into overtime. But, you know, you guys didn't roll over at all.
No, this is a team that beat us by 20 points, you know, earlier in the year. So, I don't know, Ryan, how'd you feel going into the game? We had a little revenge factor.
Yeah, I feel like our mindset was just to go out there and beat those guys. We knew we had to fight. We knew they was going to come out and fight us.
Yeah, and I think you guys proved your point. There were a couple of really fun plays in this game. You know, somewhere in here we have a Martin Vokes half-court buzzer beater shot that I want to discuss a little bit. He told me that you guys practice that.
Yeah, we do.
I've never heard of a team practicing that.
Is that it there?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, before every game we have a shoot around, you know, about 5 hours before, and at the end of the shoot around we all practice. We all shoot half-court shots, and we have to make 2 before we can leave. So, and Martin's one of the regular guys to make them. Not quite like that, not quite that dramatic, but yeah, we actually do that. There's a great move by Tone and a great no call by the official. People say I don't ever compliment the officials, but I'm complimenting the official on that one. That guy flopped, so that was good.
You know, sometimes you gotta give them one. I hear what goes on the sidelines, but you know, you guys were able to pull out that win, 85-77 in overtime. Great win. You know, I think you guys were trailing a little bit, and then Antonio Givens and then Ike Moore, he really got you guys back in the game there, and you were able to pull it out in overtime. And, you know, as a player, I know that you didn't get as many minutes this game, but when, you know, you're like on the bench for something like that, you know, kind of what's the feeling there? Not being in an overtime scenario, but.
I mean, for me, it'd be just, I hope these guys pull it out and just cheering those guys on. That'll really be my mindset there.
And, you know, when you are, you know, on the bench and not necessarily in the game, but, you know, you have been playing, how do you kind of cheer on your teammates?
Me personally become more of a coach. I talk to the coaches a lot about what I see personally sitting down, and I mean, that's just me personally. And then I also cheer them on too, but I become more of a coach at that point.
So I know you're a graduate student. Could you ever see Ryan on your coaching staff?
Sure.
In the near future?
I think he has a great mind for the game. You know, he really does. He understands the game, and that's why our staff, and I think our whole team, always feels comfortable when he's on the floor. No matter what he's doing, we just know that we've kind of got this other coach on the floor, and kind of comes from a basketball background. His dad's helped train him and coached him, and so you know, we've got several coaches on our team. You know, he's one of them that presents it to you in a positive way.
Well, I will keep my eyes peeled for that in the future, and we are almost all out of time. But something that I have to ask, I know that this is going to air after the game. You're sitting here in a Kansas City Chiefs shirt, and I know you said you're not much of an NFL fan. Who do you guys think is going to win the game tonight?
Me, I'm going to go with Brady.
Brady?
I'm going to go with Brady.
Well, I'm obviously going with the Chiefs, so we'll see what happens.
So is he going to be running sprints Monday for that?
No, we might go for a candy bar or something.
Yeah.
Can't go for too much; it'd be illegal.
All right, well, we'll see who wins. Maybe we'll have a prize this time next week. But guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see you guys on the road next week against Northwest and against Missouri Western. But for now, we are all out of time. So until next week, everybody stay safe and enjoy the game tonight.
This has been the Pittsburg State Basketball Coaches Show.